Hey, how we doing, everybody? It's another beautiful day here in the Cheesy Moon Workshop. This is the knife haul from today. My wife and I were out doing yard sales today and didn't have much luck. And then I ran across one yard sale that had these and a few other knives that I wasn't really that interested in. This little knife here has Catholic Youth on here, and then there's this little poem or verse on the back, and it's in pretty good shape. And the only issue I have is half of the tang stamp has been ground off or something. Pretty sure this is Colonial, Providence, Rhode Island. I've looked up a few, and this little short pinched bolster is what has helped me determine it is a Colonial. The only other option I had was Imperial, but I don't think it's Imperial. I believe it is Colonial with these little short pinch bolsters, but decent snap, in fairly good shape. But you can tell that each and every one of these knives, if you see how black that nail nick is, each and every one of these knives has been in a vinegar bath. I cleaned this one up a little bit. This one says Greg Iron Foundry. Then there's some numbers underneath there. And I looked it up, and that was a company that was probably from the 40s through modern days, but this is a Camco. I believe this is probably from the 50s. You can see how black it is in there. It's also was in a vinegar bath. Decent snap, all in all in good shape. This little knife here, Imperial Ireland. Oh no, this is just the Imperial Stainless. Good snap on this one. Hollow metal, clamshell type handles on it. And there was this little Frontier. This is the Imperial Ireland. It looks like a fairly new knife, but it was in great shape. A nice little daily carry. Simple little knife. Really good shape. And that leads me to this knife. This is a real mystery for me. I cleaned this up with several different cleaning compounds. One was the Neverdull. I used some Ballistol, which I use frequently with cleaning guns, and I use some WD-40. And this knife is definitely an old knife, carbon steel. It was in a vinegar bath. I got most of that blackness off of there. The only issue I'm having is the tang stamp is not there. It's been sanded off, filed off, something I just cannot find any signs of a stamp on there, on either of the three blades. The other thing is, I've gone through 3 different knife books, and this shield is common use by Camillus, Cattaraugus, and 2 or 3 other knife manufacturers. It's got a little whammy in the liner. I might try to straighten that out. The handles are plastic, I believe. It's definitely not bone. I'm getting my knife or flashlight off here. You can see how the light shines through the handle material. So it's definitely not bone, because bone won't do that. It's some sort of composition or plastic. There is some grain structure in that blade or this scale. A little bit texturing, but I think that's just pocket wear. I don't believe it was a jigged finish. If it was, it's been worn extremely smooth, and the back is really smooth. Three blades here, a spade blade. This, I don't know, it's just been whittled down a lot. But if anybody can maybe help identify this knife, it's definitely carbon steel, definitely has some age to it. But I just can't find any sort of markings or anything that would tell me who made this knife. That blade is really knackered up. I don't know what in the world they did with that blade. But I could probably smooth it out some. This little spade blade, pretty decent shape. I mean, outside of the patina, it's in really good shape. So that was my find for the day, okay? That leads me back to a yard sale I went to a few weeks ago, where I found this old Queen knife. And it's brass liners. I haven't cleaned this at all because it's missing a blade. And but you can see the little Queen tag stamp on there. I haven't even looked it up and researched it when it was made, because at this point it's a parts knife or awaiting parts. You can see pretty heavy rust down in there. Pretty good amount of rust and dirt on the inside of that one. But that was one of the knives I got at the yard sale a few weeks ago, along with these little knives here. This knife says Vulcan and T. Elliott or Ellington or something like that. I haven't really been able to find anything about this one in any of my books that I have. And it's missing a small portion of the handle there. But these two, both these knives, they date from 1920 to 1940. They have the same tang stamps on them. And this one here, I cannot identify that. I've found several that are close to this, belly shape or whatever it is, but not the same blade configurations. I haven't found any with this blade configuration shape and the imitation pearl. It's cracked up. I gotta stabilize it with some super glue so that none of the pieces fall out. Great snap on this old knife. And outside of the extensive sharpening that was on that, it's in decent shape. And this knife is untouched, or this blade pretty much. But I can't really identify a model on this. So if anybody can help me out with that. And this knife here, I did find the model, and I'm going to include some pictures at the end of this video. Again, potentially, it's 84 years to potentially 104 years old. So each of these is at minimum 84 years old, which is pretty cool. But this knife has the same issue as that Cattaraugus that I sent to the knife doctor. The small blade here, or this is the main blade in this knife, doesn't close all the way, and it has no spring reaction, no snap whatsoever. And if I can get it to focus here, and you can see the spring, when it's closed, is recessed, just like the Cattaraugus that I sent to Kevin. And I've done some research, and what I found out is that the tang, the end of that tang, is supposed to be somewhat squared off. And through years of use, the back of that tang and the surface of that spring have just worn down to it's being kind of round. And a knife this old, I don't know that I'm going to attempt to repair it. I think I'll just leave it as is. And but I've gone through this knife guide, and there's some pretty good, in each of these books I have a pretty good graphic of the anatomy of the blades and all that stuff, and I just haven't found any that show a rounded end of the tang. Every one of them is supposed to be a flat back and somewhat squared at the end of the tang. And I'm going to include some pictures of those. That's what led me down the rabbit hole to try to identify what the problem with that is. This is my original, I believe, 9th edition collector's knives. Then I found this one in a thrift store. Different manufacturer, I guess we call them publisher. This is from 2001. And then I recently picked this one up, 14th edition. It's 2004, I believe. A ton of information in here, but I just can't seem to find that particular knife. This is the graphic I was talking about, how these, if I sort of point with here. These blades need that flat spot for the blade to, and the spring to line up on. This is somewhat flat. It's a little rounded a little bit so that it will move. They all have to have that flat correlation. And when these blades get worn down, they just don't have it. I'm also going to try to put a link to a YouTube video I found from about 5 years ago, where the guy is building pocket knives, and he shows that geometry and the precise relationship between that spring and the tang. And that's what leads me to believe that this knife is just flat, wore out on that blade. And the one that I sent to Kevin was the small pen blade. And chances are, at the age of the knife, they were actually using it to cut a quill pen, or the guy was a smoker and smoked a pipe a lot, and he was scraping that pipe continuously with his old pen blade. Maybe trimmed his fingernails. But that, I mean, this small blade here, great snap. And the condition of the blade, wasn't used that much. The main blade, used heavily, sharpened heavily, and just has no spring left. And I could push it down and the spring comes flush, but it had just kind of wore out. So I think sometimes you got to let an old knife be an old knife. And at 84 to 104 years old, it's still beautiful to me. I don't know they'll be carrying it very much, but in recap, if anybody can identify this knife, model, right, or this one here, it's a little bit colorblind, but I'm saying it's red. It's kind of a translucent plastic handle. Nice knife. That blade's tore up. That's in good shape. Great snap. That blade's wore down quite a bit, but just no trace of any kind of identifying marks on that tang at all. Well, there you have it, guys. These are all my little small pocket knives I've acquired over the past 2 weeks or so. This is my daily carry now that I've fixed. Great snap on that one. Yep, get in frame there. So there you go, guys. I want to thank everybody for watching. Add some comments if you can about some of those knives that I had questions on. And if you're one of my Orlando people who are watching, leave a comment, let me know you're on there. So until I see you guys again, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and have a beautiful day. Okay, these are the pictures in the catalogs for these knives. That one I found. That's the tang stamp for that knife and the dates. Tang stamp for the mother of pearl imitation handle. That's how long it is. I believe it's closer to 3.5 than 3.25. That's the closest case shape I could find. So if you can find it, help me out.